Welcome back to Inbox Zero. This is the show where I get a bunch of emails in that have questions and I answer them. And conveniently, I actually took 4 questions for this week that is about email marketing because that is something I get asked a lot. So the first question, and this has actually been coming up a lot more lately, is what's a good open rate on my emails? Now, I always have to ask questions back because it's like the types of emails you're sending, who the audience is that's getting them, can change the open rates. Now, when we kind of go generically, let's say like a newsletter that goes out, that's going to be pretty straightforward. You want to be at least at 50%. This is no matter your list size. Like if you have tens of thousands or 500, 50% ideal. In an ideal world, you're going to be at closer to 60%. Like with REM, for example, we're over 60%. My personal or the JSH newsletter that goes out every Tuesday, I'm typically like 55% with that one. And that I haven't even cleaned that list in a little while. So I know I can bump that over 60, no problem. But you want to be over 50%. If you are 30% or under, you got a lot of work to do. Between 30 and 50 is probably just tweaking subject lines, different things like that. Now, if you're sending like an email to just your past clients, like there's people who really know you, like you, trust you, different things like that, like you're probably going to actually want that to be up over 80%. If you're down at like 10%, it probably means you're just getting hammered by spam and you haven't set up the proper stuff to verify your domain. You've done like the DKIM, SPF, all those different things, but you have a lot of work to do if you're in there. Like anything under 20%, I look at as basically it's a failure. And you have to put a lot of work into it. Like something you're doing is very, very wrong. But yeah, you want to be over 50, ideally closer to 60% open rates. And that is what we look for at open rate. Now, that open rate is also not going to be perfect, right? So like Apple, for example, opens every email that comes in through the mail app anyways. So your number could be artificially high. So we also look at open rate as more of like a trend line. So if it's consistently trending up, that's what we want to see. If it's starting to trend down, that gives a good indicator. But in terms of like exactly the right one, there's even some that automatically click every link in an email. So like I know on the JSH email, roughly X number of clicks every single time are going to be the same amount. A good way that I've found to test that is I just bury a kind of a hidden link somewhere in it and that I know nobody will click, but the bots that click every link will click. So I can get a baseline of how many of the link clicks on each thing are from bots that are just doing it from their email server. But yeah, that's kind of how I test that out. But good open rate, over 50, ideally over 60%. Next question. What metrics matter the most when it comes to email marketing? So, I mean, open rate, again, is a good baseline, but this is where there is not a single great answer because it can change depending on what you're trying to do. Are you trying to drive people to a landing page? Or is it just client retention? Is it you're trying to get people to start a conversation with you? So, like a regular newsletter like REM, I'm looking often at how many people click on the links and then go to our website because that's a major source of our traffic. So we look at click-through rate and the amount of clicks coming from each email as a big one for us. Now on the JSH side, it might be reply rates. How many people reply to the emails? If I'm selling something or doing a webinar, it's how many people don't just click on the link, it's how many people actually register for the webinar. Because yes, it's nice to click, but I want the full registration coming through. So we're always looking at what is the outcome we want from it, and then we tailor a metric to that. So yes, generically click-through rate's a better thing than open rate and everything like that. But like for example, like when you get a new email, so the new lead come in, one of the best things you can do to make sure your emails avoid their spam and they keep getting it is how many people reply. So like the first email that you ever send, reply rate should be your top metric. And if you're never getting any replies, you want to adjust it. So metrics depend on the outcomes that you want. Typically click-through rate, reply rate, and kind of metrics around that end as opposed to open rate is what you want to track. Open rate is just like a nice indicator to kind of pay attention to. But it's one of those things like on most platforms, follower counts that don't really matter that much. How often should I be emailing my database? Again, the classic it depends answer, but I mean, I'm a big fan of weekly emails. Now, you have to find a way to make it valuable. Like we typically look at 2 types of emails to send weekly. One is just kind of the generic deal of the week style email where every week you pick 1 to 3 properties, send it out to your list. It doesn't have to be like deal of the week, like here's the best deal. It can be like, here's my favorite 3, or like, here's my favorite 3 lofts that came on the market. Here's the houses with the most beautiful gardens. Like, think about who your ideal clients are and share that type of thing with them. Or it can be like top 3 solds this week and different something like that. But whatever you pick along that way of sending them real estate information is you have to include your analysis of it. So this could be like, if you're sending the best deals of the week, like for investors, as an example, be like, here's my best 3 investments in new market this week, and here's why. That here's why part at the end of the day is actually the only part that matters, because that's establishing you as an expert with them. It's showing your thought process, and that's what's going to make them believe that you're the person to do the job for them. The other style is basically become like a local newspaper. So like when someone opens your email, it's keeping them informed of what's going on in the community. And then you just have a real estate section as part of that. So this is great. What I love about these styles is whether they just bought yesterday or they're not buying for 7 years, something like that, they're still going to enjoy getting those emails because it's keeping them up to date on what's going on in the community. And then you just have a real estate section that once in a while has some kind of softer calls to action that drives in the right people. So I'm a big fan of those weekly. And I think you should keep going. Now, if you have a database and you haven't emailed them in a while, tell them you're about to start doing weekly and give them an opportunity to opt out of just that without opting out of all communication with you, because you want to be able to keep staying in touch with them. But I definitely recommend weekly. And then if you want to kind of start bi-weekly, do something like that. If you're not emailing at all, you can even start monthly. But again, you should work your way up to weekly, because I know as soon as I switched to weekly and we've switched clients to weekly, all the numbers we wanted to track have gone up. Like, think about it like this. If you get someone into your database today and you sent out your newsletter this morning and they don't hear from you for a month, they might have forgotten who you are by then. So you want to make sure that you have that regular cadence of contact that keeps you top. You just got to make sure that they're good emails that go out that have value. And just tips on winterizing your home as like the sole thing probably isn't it. And the last question for today, do video emails really work? Yes. So I think there's a lot of value, like BombBomb popularized them in the real estate world. And I think that video emails are really effective, especially if you can get them to open it. But you also have to, again, look at context, right? So not every scenario calls for it. Like, if I'm emailing someone and just like confirming a showing, they don't need a video saying, hey, John, it's me, just confirming a showing at 2:00 today. No, that's just the best. Says, hey, your showing's confirmed at 2:00 today. But new leads, it can be good to kind of show that it's a real person there, especially if it's customized to them. So like if you're personalized, just being like, hey, John, Andrew here. We got your request about a home. Here's some of the things you might want to know. Here's some other things, yada, yada, yada. And you're kind of doing your video that way. And then check response rate. Like for you have to look at, are these driving more replies? Are they driving more of the outcome I'm trying to get? I think when done well, for a lot of people, they do drive more outcomes that way. But not every email should be that, because some people don't want to watch videos every time they get it, right? It's same like I personally can't stand when I get voice messages from people. I'd much rather you type it out. Other people are the opposite. They'd rather get voice. But like, you are sending something to someone somewhere, they might not be in a position to watch the video. So if you're going to send a video, I also recommend, at least from a skimming perspective, put a little bit of context in text so that they know what it's about without having to watch the video. And then the video is just like something that adds to the process. But again, it depends on the situation. Like if I'm sending an offer to an agent and I can't get them on the phone, I'm going to send the offer with a video explaining it and trying to sell it for my clients instead of just saying, here's the offer. So we're looking at where it is. Lead conversion, great way to kind of do it. But there's probably also some great value of, instead of sending them like a BombBomb email, maybe we send them to an Instagram reel, because now they might follow us and start getting more content from us as well, and it's going to a preset video. But the more personalized it is, the better. But video emails can work really well, but I find some people overdo it and send it in situations where it's not appropriate. And if you see you're not getting a response from your videos, try switching to text and see what happens, because some people just either don't want to watch or they're not in a place to watch it. So vary the methods with different clients. Don't be afraid to try different things. But it can work if you're willing to commit to doing it. Just don't overdo it with like every single message forever becomes video. You have to think of the context of that video and does it make sense to be one? But especially early on as you're building rapport with people who've never met you, they don't have that know and the like and the trust yet, video can play a pivotal role within that. But you could also just be sending them to your YouTube or your Instagram. It doesn't have to be like a specific tool like a BombBomb. But anyways, that's Inbox Zero. If you have any video questions or email questions, anything like that, you can put it in the comment. I'll put it into a future video, or you can actually email me, Andrew@joselhomes.com. But either way, I appreciate you tuning in for another episode, and we'll chat soon.